On our first date, she asked why I never laughed at her jokes. I told her it would feel fake. She walked out. Why do deep thinkers get ghosts, not roses? Most men are taught that being smart, honest, and self aware will make them more attractive. But for some, the deeper they think, the lonelier they become. They notice things others ignore. They ask questions that make people uncomfortable. And worst of all, they can't play dumb to fit in. They are not heartless. They just struggle with small talk, fake smiles, and empty connections. They want real love, but often end up alone. Why? Why does depth repel instead of attract? Why do women often reject intelligent, introspective men? And why does it feel like the smarter you are, the more misunderstood you become? This is not just about relationships. It's about a deeper, more terrifying truth that the very things that make you wise might also make you unlovable. Let's explore why through the mind of one of the loneliest geniuses in history, Søren Kierkegaard. Society craves predictability. People feel safe around those who follow the script, smile politely, say what's expected, and never think too much. But the intelligent man does not follow scripts. He questions them. He does not flirt with cliché lines. He dissects the idea of flirting itself. He does not chase trends. He watches the crowd chase them and wonders why. To most, this is not fascinating. It's threatening. Because when you cannot be easily categorized, you cannot be easily controlled. And in a world where conformity is comfort, the introspective man becomes a source of discomfort. He breaks social norms not with rebellion, but with reflection. He refuses to play games, which makes him unreadable, unpredictable, dangerous, especially to women raised in a culture where emotional safety is paramount. When a man sees through manipulation, he becomes immune to it, and when he refuses to act like every other man, he no longer feels familiar. That unfamiliarity breeds fear, not always consciously but viscerally. It whispers, "He's different. You don't know what he's capable of." And so many walk away, not because he's wrong, but because he's too right, too awake, too deep. In Kierkegaard's time, such a man was not praised. He was pied, mocked, or ignored. And in today's world, not much has changed. But why do women in particular feel this fear more intensely? The answer lies in evolution and a primal need that intelligence often threatens. Modern relationships are built on comfort, quick replies, constant validation, easy affection. Love is now more about convenience than connection. But the conscious man, the deeply intelligent man, is not wired for that. He does not just want a partner, he wants truth. While most are seduced by appearances, he looks through them. He can spot emotional masks, subtle manipulation, even performative vulnerability. And that makes things complicated because modern love thrives on illusion, the illusion of perfect compatibility, the illusion of always being enough, the illusion that love should never feel hard. But to the conscious man, love that avoids discomfort is not love, it's denial. He seeks depth, not dopamine. He desires connection, not codependence. This makes him exhausting to those seeking romance as escapism. Women who crave emotional ease may mistake his honesty for criticism, his detachment for coldness, his solitude for disinterest. He does not love loud, he loves with clarity. And in a world where confusion feels romantic, clarity feels threatening. He does not chase, he does not play, he simply sees. And once you feel seen by him, truly seen, you can never return to surface-level affection again. That's his gift and his curse because the more conscious he becomes, the harder it gets to find someone who does not flinch under the weight of that awareness. And yet he refuses to lower his gaze, even if it means walking alone. But what if his solitude is not a failure, but a form of power? Let's explore that. Most people crave belonging. We mimic trends, echo beliefs, seek safety and sameness. But Kierkegaard saw through this. He called it the crowd. And to him, the crowd is untruth. Because the crowd does not think, it reacts. It does not seek truth, it obeys comfort. It is not a collective of individuals, it's a blur of borrowed identities. The conscious man refuses to dissolve into that blur. He does not follow the noise, he questions it. And that makes him dangerous because he exposes what others spend their lives trying to ignore. That most people are not living their truth. They are living a script handed to them by the crowd. So he's labeled as difficult, too intense, too different. But what they really mean is, you make me confront parts of myself I'm not ready to see. While others align for approval, he aligns for authenticity. He would rather be alone in truth than loved in illusion. And in a world addicted to echo chambers, the man who listens only to his inner voice becomes a threat. Not because he's violent, but because he's free. Why women fear intelligent men. It's not intelligence that most women fear. It's what comes with it. The intelligent man does not chase. He observes. He questions. He waits. He is not swayed by beauty. He's unmoved by games. And worst of all, he does not need you. And that's terrifying because for many relationships are built on subtle forms of control, validation loops, emotional bargaining, push and pull tactics that reward neediness and punish detachment. But the intelligent man does not play. He's self-contained. He's not hooked by flattery. And when something feels fake, he vanishes without explanation. This is not arrogance, it's clarity. He's felt the sting of shallow intimacy before, and now he chooses peace over performance. Most women are not used to that. They are used to men who overextend, who prove, who pursue. But the intelligent man does not want to be admired. He wants to be understood. That's a higher bar. And because he does not project a fantasy, he can't be easily idealized or controlled. He's unpredictable. Not because he's chaotic, but because he does not orbit around social rules. He's not a mystery to himself. He's a mystery to others, and people fear what they can't predict. The intelligent man does not rebel with loud defiance. He simply does not engage with what he sees as shallow. And in a world that craves attention, indifference feels like violence. So when a woman says, "He intimidates me," what she often means is, "He does not play by the rules I'm used to winning with, and that makes him dangerous." Kierkegaard called it the sickness unto death. Not a physical illness, but a spiritual despair so deep you don't even know you're suffering. It's the quiet death of the self. Most men today are not in pain because they're broken. They're in pain because they're disconnected from truth, from depth, from themselves. They've been taught to become what the world rewards: pleasant, predictable, profitable. They play roles, wear masks, say what's expected, and slowly they forget who they are. This is despair, not the dramatic, obvious kind, but the subtle. Message clipped. View entire message. E-cultural form, the kind that looks like success on the outside but feels like emptiness inside. Kierkegaard warned, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur so quietly that it is as if it were nothing at all." And that's exactly what our culture does to intelligent men. It teaches them to trade their depth for acceptance, to silence their questions, to tame their intensity, to smile and fit in. But the more they suppress their inner voice, the more they feel unseen, even by themselves. The intelligent man then becomes a stranger in his own life, going through motions he didn't choose, living a story he didn't write. This is not just personal tragedy, it's systemic, because society fears the conscious man, the one who remembers himself, and so it conditions him to forget. We live in an age obsessed with appearance, not just physical beauty, but performance, persona, and pretense. Dating today is less about connection and more about curation. Curated profiles, curated conversations, curated selves. It's not about being something real. It's about appearing desirable in just the right way to just the right audience. Modern dating thrives on surface-level seduction. It's a game, and like all games, it has rules. Don't text too soon. Don't care too much. Always maintain leverage. This isn't intimacy, it's strategy. But the intelligent man doesn't play. He's uninterested in power dynamics, unmoved by artificial scarcity, and allergic to manipulation. He doesn't know how to be mysterious because he's already a mystery even to himself. He doesn't chase, not because he's arrogant, but because he seeks something real, something that doesn't require tactics to sustain. This makes him unplayable, not out of superiority, but because the game bores him. And this refusal is threatening because if you don't play the game, you expose it. You reveal the emptiness underneath the rituals, the hollowness beneath the flirtation, the loneliness behind the filters. For many, the game is the identity, so rejecting the game feels like rejecting them. This is why the intelligent man often finds himself alone, not because he's unlovable, but because he's unwilling to perform. He doesn't want to be impressive, he wants to be understood, but understanding requires depth, and depth is terrifying to those still seduced by the surface. At the heart of Kierkegaard's philosophy lies a terrifying proposition. To live authentically, you must leap, not with certainty, but with faith. Faith not in religion as ritual, but in the radical act of becoming yourself. This leap demands sacrifice, not just comfort or conformity, but the very roles that society hands you: the obedient son, the agreeable partner, the successful man. To leap means to abandon the mask, even if it means standing alone. It's not a leap into something, but a leap away from everything false. For the intelligent man, this is both a necessity and a burden. He sees the absurdity of playing parts that suffocate him. He refuses to pretend, but in doing so, he often finds himself isolated, not out of choice, but because meaning has a cost. Kierkegaard called it the night of faith, the rare individual who walks the world inwardly detached, free from the crowd's validation. He lives by inward truths, not outward applause. This is what women in society at large can't always understand. The intelligent man doesn't rebel for attention. He detaches because the alternative is spiritual death. He's not too deep or too intense. He's simply unwilling to live asleep. This leap of faith isn't loud. It's quiet, lonely, invisible. But it's also the only path to real selfhood. And that scares people because if he can choose meaning over belonging, what does that say about those who settle? The leap isn't just personal, it's confrontational. It exposes how few are willing to leap at all. There's a hidden cost to waking up. It doesn't arrive in a flash of glory, but in the quiet erosion of belonging. The more conscious a man becomes, the more the world begins to feel foreign. The more intelligent he becomes, the harder it is to speak without shrinking his thoughts. He starts to notice the conversations around him. Shallow, predictable, circular, the rituals of dating, of networking, of social signaling, all seem like theater, not because he's arrogant, but because he sees too clearly. He sees the patterns, the masks, the games, and once you see, you can't unsee. This is the price of awakening. You no longer fit in, but you also can't go back. Your laughter becomes rarer, not because you're unhappy, but because very little feels real. This isolation is not social failure, it's psychic transformation. You are no longer built for the surface. You crave depth, silence, substance. But the world punishes that craving. It treats detachment as arrogance, depth as awkwardness, sensitivity as weakness. Yet all of these, detachment, depth, sensitivity, are signs that you're evolving. What most call loneliness is actually your soul shedding its dependency on noise. And that's when the shift happens. You stop trying to belong and start trying to become. You begin walking a narrower road, not to escape others, but to finally meet yourself. From a young age, the intelligent man is taught a silent lesson. You must shrink to fit. Speak simpler. Don't think so much. Laugh at jokes you don't find funny. Pretend you don't see what you see, because if you don't, you'll be called arrogant, weird, too intense. So many intelligent men learn to wear masks, not out of deception, but survival. They master the art of small talk, and they downplay their insights. They dull their edges, not to be loved, but to avoid exile. Yet deep inside, there's a quiet rebellion, a refusal to assimilate. Because assimilation is not acceptance, it's erasure, and the man who refuses a ratio will always pay a price. He'll be misunderstood, labeled difficult, told he's too much or not enough. But he is neither. He's just unwilling to betray himself. There's a cost to this refusal. It may mean fewer invitations, awkward silences, people walking away without explanation. But there's also a gift. He gets to keep his soul because true selfhood requires sacrifice. You cannot be free and pleasing at the same time. You cannot be whole and palatable to everyone. The man who refuses assimilation knows that rejection isn't always a punishment. Sometimes it's a filter, a separation of those who need a mask from those who can face what's underneath. This man may walk alone, but he walks upright, not because he's trying to be different, but because he refuses to be less. Most people don't want to be seen. They want to be admired. They curate themselves. Perfect smiles, rehearsed opinions, predictable emotions that never reveal too much. They long to be the object of attention, not the subject of scrutiny. But the intelligent man, he sees, not the mask, but what lies beneath it. He notices the micro-expressions, the contradictions in words, the pain behind the performance. And that terrifies people because when someone truly sees you, you can no longer hide, not even from yourself. His gaze isn't judgmental, it's discerning, but it still feels like exposure. To the woman who is used to being adored, the intelligent man doesn't play along. He's not intoxicated by beauty, not fooled by charm, not moved by validation games. He sees patterns, he sees projections, he sees the scared child behind the confident smile. And in that moment, he becomes dangerous, because to be truly seen is to be vulnerable. And vulnerability for many feels like a threat, so they call him cold, detached, too analytical. But the truth is, he simply refuses to worship illusions. And in a world addicted to them, that kind of clarity feels like an attack. To the intelligent man, love is not a conquest. It is not a game of tactics, timing, or triumph. It is truth, or it is nothing. He doesn't chase to prove his worth, nor withdraw to spark desire. He has no interest in weaponizing affection, because for him, love is sacred. Not because it is soft, but because it is raw. It is the one space where masks must fall, where performance must die. where two people must stand naked in their essence. But that kind of love is rare, terrifyingly rare, because most relationships today are built on unspoken contracts. Don't expose me and I won't expose you. Lie to me beautifully and I'll return the favor. The intelligent man refuses this. He will not lie. He will not pretend. He doesn't want your best version. He wants the real one, the bruised one, the one behind the smile, because he offers the same in return. And that's what makes him so different and so dangerous. He doesn't want to possess. He wants to witness. He doesn't seek control. He seeks communion. For him, love is an act of existential honesty, a mutual unveiling, a confrontation with truth. And truth in a world built on illusions is the most intimate and unsettling thing of all. The intelligent man does not perform. He does not curate a personality. He does not manufacture charm. He does not play by scripts written to win favor because he does not need to. His calmness is not an act. It's the natural result of self-ownership of a mind that's questioned itself into clarity of a soul that no longer seeks external validation to feel whole. This is sovereignty, the quiet power that makes him magnetic but also difficult to control. In a world where most people signal value through performance, the sovereign man feels like a glitch in the system. He does not compete. He does not posture. He does not react to bait. This unnerves those who rely on psychological games to maintain leverage, especially in romance. He won't chase because someone pulled away. He won't inflate his ego to match yours. He won't bend to emotional manipulation disguised as affection because he sees it, all of it, and chooses not to engage. His strength lies in presence, not persuasion, in being, not becoming. He does not need to convince anyone of his worth because he's already convinced himself. And that quiet conviction disarms people. It reveals the hollowest of performance, exposes the insecurity behind control. So while others shout to be noticed, he remains silent and somehow still commands the room. This is why the intelligent man stands apart. He is not a brand. He is not an actor. He is sovereign. And that sovereignty in a world addicted to roles and masks is the ultimate rebellion. Most people say they want authenticity, but what they really want is comfort, not truth, not depth, not presence. Because real presence feels like exposure. When someone is truly present with you, they see past your words, past your image, and into the very structure of your being. It's not comfortable. It's not flattering. It's unnerving. The intelligent man grounded in his consciousness does not fake connection. He does not fill silence with noise. He does not flatter to gain favor. He simply shows up fully, completely. And that level of raw attention can feel like confrontation, like a mirror that doesn't blink. It reveals the masks we wear, the games we play, the lies we tell ourselves to avoid the truth. Most people are not ready to be seen that clearly, so they label his intensity as too much, his honesty as cold, his presence as arrogance, but in reality, they are simply not ready to face themselves in his reflection. Because the intelligent man does not dim his light to make others comfortable, and when someone's entire identity is built on pretense, that light can feel blinding. Before the world knew his name, Kierkegaard fell in love with a woman named Regina Olsen. He adored her, wanted to marry her, but he walked away, not because he did not love her, but because he loved something more, truth. He knew the life he had chosen of isolation, reflection, and inner conflict would consume anyone tied to it, especially someone as innocent as Regina. So he broke her heart and shattered his own in the process. He wrote books filled with longing, haunted by the absence of a woman he could never forget. She became his eternal muse, not in possession, but in renunciation. This was not a rejection of love. It was an acknowledgement of its cost, the cost of depth, of choosing a path where most won't follow because it does not promise comfort, only clarity. Kierkegaard died alone but not empty. He became the philosopher of the soul, the man who gave language to despair and faith because he refused to dilute his essence. Regina lived on, married someone else, but her name remains etched in the margins of his work, a quiet echo of what was lost in the pursuit of something greater. That is the price of depth and the mark of the truly awakened.